We're going to start things off with local group Otis and the Elevators from a demo tape. The song is called Promises. We'll see if they live up to it. I've got a promo thing here on Otis and the Elevators, and I'm just going to read to you off of it because it's pretty well written. I think I'll let you know what they're about. It says they play rock and roll the way it was invented, young, direct, and rebellious. The members of the group are Jay Rosenstein, guitarist, lead singer, and American folk hero. Jay's an established veteran of the Skokie blues scene and lists Howlin' Wolf, Jerry Garcia, and Joey Ramone as his primary influences. An odd combination. Sometimes he plays harmonica. He writes songs and arranges the Elevators' music when he has time. He says he was popular until the video game revolution, and now he just sleeps. The newest Elevator is young, unadulterated, and naive Mark Zehr. He remains the only Elevator to hold the distinction of being thrown out of Champaign's most prestigious club. Mark comes to the Elevators after completing his doctoral thesis at Juilliard School of Music, and at Berklee Music School he plays the bass. And John Decator, the last member, is a mess. He doesn't have any friends and people call him names. If he moves next door, your lawn will die. He plays the drums and used to sing. When he writes songs, they're usually nasty and don't make much sense. He's very short. The song is called Promises. We'll see if they live up to it.
As far as an artist, a musician, in the local scene might measure his or her own success, given the limited number of venues to play. If you have some sort of a regular following which is sufficiently large and enthusiastic, the kind of response that you get when you play locally is a good measure of success. If you have a band or you're some single performer or something and you play someplace regularly and no one ever comes out to see you, that could be judged to be not terribly successful as far as the local situation goes. If you have enthusiastic audiences that keep coming back or that are growing, that's a measure of success.
I'm the program director of WPGU. My name's Pam Bresnan. And what I do, there's a wide variety of things. Basically, I'm responsible for whatever goes on the air that you hear on PGU.
Okay. How would you define success or failure for a local band?
For a local band, I'd say success would definitely be having a following. I think success would be having your song played on the radio, and probably also being recognized in, the local papers and stuff like that.
What constitutes failure for a band?
Failure to me is when you play a Saturday night and there's 10 people that show up at the show, and failure to me also is when there's no one out there that seems to be into the music. They just kind of came to the club to sit and talk or whatever. They could really care less that you're up on stage. They don't even notice what you're doing. They don't care.
If you could see me, I wouldn't mind. If you could feel, I wouldn't mind. If it all went against me, all went against me. If it was for real, then I wouldn't mind.
for me, success is if you play great rock and roll. Success and failure for a local band. Well, I mean, I think it varies with the band because there's so many different reasons why a band starts playing rock and roll and what they want out of it. For some bands, success would be playing good rock and roll and having an audience that appreciates it without worrying about the financial side of it. There is obviously the financial side, and for a lot of bands, success means at least perhaps breaking even to buy the equipment you need. And for other bands, it means perhaps making enough money to at least support yourself part-time as a rock and roll band. As a critic, I tend to judge success by the quality or the excitement of the rock and roll generated, and what I consider a lot of the best bands are not the most successful in economic terms or popular terms. And some of the bands that are the most successful in economic and popular terms are probably not the bands that I would think of as successful. So it depends why you're playing rock and roll.
Okay, for a local band, I would say one thing that's important is getting out and playing and having people know you exist. Okay, so you do have to have some understanding and ability in the operations of the local industry and how to get to where you can be playing so that people will see you. The ultimate success, I think, would be to go beyond this town. Okay, because if you're good enough, I don't think there's a point where you don't need the atmosphere, even though it's a healthy atmosphere. I think there's a point where you have to go beyond that.
Hi, boss. I'm not working tonight. So his shirt. His shirt.
I don't know, I bought it in Los Angeles. They'd say I'd be a rock star if I started wearing this.
Well, I would say reaching a bigger audience is a valid goal, but making a lot of money isn't. Okay? I think trying to reach a bigger audience, but not having the success change too much your original intentions and goals and values. And that, I think, is a real difficult thing. Because once you're at the level of operating within the industry as a whole, it has a tendency to kind of mold you to its purposes instead of the other way around.
I see a light that breaks through my window at night. I stare it down, but I won't give in because I know that what I'm doing is right. Whoa, the strength of a camel depends on its back, but what holds us together is what holds us back. Pack up your bags now and take them on home. Don't need the extra weight that I can't carry alone. I'm living alone.
To play in the current environment, you really need to make a little bit of money, unless you're doing it completely as a hobby. But even just to afford to go places to play and to pay for equipment and sound and lights and stuff like that, to have a good show, costs a lot of money. And it can be very defeating to a band, even if they start out as kind of a hobby band, to play places time after time and not make enough money to even cover their expenses, because it takes a lot of time. And it's nice to make to get some compensation for what you're doing.
What are the chances of any band walking in and just being able to play that one set?
Walking in?
Just walking in.
Now
talking.
it's very good because I do a showcase night once a month, and the catch is that there's no pay in it. So if any band that's willing to audition and do one set, for free, is welcome to play.
Okay, what makes a successful band at Mabel's? Or in other words, what would make you ask one of those bands back?
The crowd reactions. I'm not always here at night because I do my job during the day, but I get feedback from the employees and the management. And crowd reaction being, do people seem to enjoy the band? Do they dance to the bands? Are the clientele of an age bracket that drink enough?
It's hard for me to understand some bands who play in a commercial venue like Mabel's and don't play commercial music, and then who feel frustrated because they're not getting a big audience or something like that. But it's unfortunate that Mabel's is the only kind of venue that you can play, and you have to be able to draw a crowd of people that drink beer in order to continue to come back.
Everybody wants to have a talk with me. Nobody wants to give me a chance to be free. Ask the stars who is right. Prepare myself for the fight of life. When I wake, I'm ready to start the day. Working a job is the only thing that makes me.
Well, much more subject to the influences and the pressures and the realities of the industry and how it operates economically than the ordinary rock fan. Okay, because being just a fan, your involvement pretty much consists of what you like and what you don't like, buying albums, listening to the radio, going to concerts that are all pretty small level decisions, okay? Whereas in this position, I'm first of all, I'm not doing it just for me, okay? We're providing a service for the campus community as a whole, okay? And then because I have to deal in the industry that involves a lot of different considerations than just whether you like something or don't like it or think it's good or bad.
I feel that we have a service to provide to the community. I don't want to just do bands that I have to do bands that we can, make money on or break even. I can't look at my job as, well, I can afford to lose money this night because I made it, on another night. Because I want to keep Mabel's alive.
Financially, I don't think, if we were to do a show that didn't work out financially. I don't think it would be a failure on the part of the band. I think it would be more a failure on our part, having not realized that it wouldn't work out financially.
I don't feel that I play favorites. Everybody gets treated the same. And I don't book a band consistently and lose money even if I like them because I'm trying to get patted on the back. And I think that I've made some decisions that seemed cold-hearted or non-supportive of the musical community when there has to be a balance between that and business, because you can't make artistic decisions all the time and expect the club to stay alive.
Plus, from a monetary standpoint, we can do very well when we don't spend it all on artificial snow and funny hats and costumes, which is another thing.
First barn dance several months ago. Go ahead. I think you should tell him now since we have a breaking action. Come on, Mark.
We got an announcement here. This little X on the floor over here is that guy right out there, Mark Franklin Slavin. See his cast? The last time we were playing here for Halloween this year, come up here, play it. He was lead singing our final song, which we thought was ever, and he broke his arm right there on stage. He broke his arm. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I think different people in the audience use and relate to rock and roll in different ways. And the major distinction one might draw is people for whom rock and roll is a kind of important form of leisure and entertainment. And I would argue it's something more for them, but they're not necessarily articulate about that. And people for whom quite explicitly rock and roll is sort of their way of surviving. It's what keeps them sane, what we might call the fanatics. I think my definitions are probably more similar to what one might normally call the fanatics. I mean, for me, rock and roll, both personally and historically, is a very important, powerful, emotional involvement, and not just entertainment.
Got this record streaming all in my heart. It's the love that never leaves you until it tears you apart. Is this the life you always wanted, where memories take their toll? Send the word that for every heartache the cure is rock and roll. Come on, talk about it. Come on, think about it. Come on, talk about it. Come on, think about it.
Okay, it's 1983, Champaign, Illinois. There's nothing new going on. Why are kids still forming bands? What's their motivation? What are they getting out of it? Do you know?
I think kids form bands for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's because you dream, as one critic once said, about drugs and all-night sex. Sometimes it's because, as Joe Strummer of The Clash said, it's a way out of both economic and sociological boredom and dead ends. Sometimes it's because you love rock and roll, and it seems to be the way in which you feel like you can intervene in the present situation, the way in which you can sort of say something, do something. If you're bored with rock and roll and you love rock and roll, one obvious solution is to try to make rock and roll that wouldn't be boring. I think that motivates a lot of people in this town.
I used to shiver in the dark, but I used to hide in my room. I was a nervous paranoid, a real tragical comedy. Then I found to where to run, was sick, slip ahead of crime. But now I got away alive, that only beats me all the time. Sip my weed every day, 'cause I know I will shock the world someday. But someday, no, my mama thinks I'm dumb. She's still wasting my best years. She says if I don't get a job, well, that'll throw me out of here. But I don't care what that will say, 'cause I know I will have it all someday. Someday. Say no. I'll take the rich for all they're worth. Don't buy my records before shoes. Well, then I'll see my name in lights with any theater down shoes. And I know that day will come. I put my faith in his guitar. I will write that classic song that makes his crushing her heart go just like this. Anyone says, 'cause I know I'm fucking all someday, someday. Well, someday, someday, someday.
Otis and the Elevators, well, we've broken up now. We quit because I have to get a job, and John's got to go to law school.
Right.
So we're no longer a band anymore.
How do you think you've succeeded or failed as a band?
Mark.
Success, I think, for me is really the opportunity to play. I mean, to play with a band such as Otis and the Elevators, and get up on stage at a bar like Mabel's and just express our ideas to a certain crowd that, you know, like enjoys our music. To me, that's my personal success.
Definitely, I agree. Opportunity is the key. Being able to get out and being lucky enough to have the opportunity to go and play what you want to play. And if you're lucky, you pick up some people along the way that enjoy what you're doing and give you the kind of respect and hopefully have a good time along with you. I think that that subculture is important. It's not the quantity. It's not how many people you get out, like 600 people at the door.
Like this.
Yeah. Right, you're right. It's more important how much, because a sea of faceless fans just crowding the door and paying their admission is one thing, and that's a measure of success, but you don't get any satisfaction unless they're looking you in the eyes and telling you that they're having a good time.
How many of them leave, you know, like after the second set, or how many of them leave like the minute we lay down our instruments?
Well, I agree with you about success that way, but you know, I mean, when we started, like, I mean, I wanted to be a star, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
little short rock and roll stars, why not?
you just gotta, you have to, I don't know, you change your values a little bit because, well, you sure don't ever want to think that you actually failed.
Failure is losing money at the door.
How would you define failure in rock and roll?
Selling out.
Failure is compromising your own attitudes, beliefs, and specific methods to accommodate someone on the outside, someone that isn't important to what you're doing.
Failure, I think, is not being able to play at all.
Failure is
Failure is in not trying. Failure is doing nothing.
Well, say a band has succeeded in local terms. Now, how far are they from, say, becoming a headliner for a Star Chorus show?
Well, pretty far, because of the fact that there's hundreds of towns in the country who produce good local bands. But it is definitely possible.
Capture every moment and play out your fantasies. They dampen all your spirit and they try to steal your fight. It's another useless motive and another useless night. I said no. You found the key, integrity, you're working every day. You found the one you dreamed about and now your life's okay. A day goes by, you're riding high, believing what you say. You think you finally changed the world and then she goes away. I said no. Promises are left each day, abandoned in the sky. You strike a balance, force them down, but they just never die. The fire burns so deep sometimes it melts right through your soul, until you're left with nothing but your dreams of rock and roll. I said no. Of the house that I own, stumbling over clothes that I've thrown. The telephone rings, but there's nobody home. We've broken the phone, now we're living alone. We're living alone. But we're not so in love.